Tea, where we dive into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us, from personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation.
In my head, immediately I thought about
that on at least 2 occasions, Diddy demanded Cassie hold his gun in her purse. The lawsuit goes on to state, quote, "There was no clear reason why Mr. Combs required her to hold his guns, except to reinforce to his young girlfriend that he was violent, powerful, and dangerous." Beyond the gun allegations, Cassie put forth some other major accusations in her 35-page lawsuit. She says Diddy beat her, sometimes so severely that she had to hide out in hotels for days at a time, waiting for the bruises to heal. Cassie also alleged Diddy raped her and forced her to have sex with prostitutes, and even recorded this. Then there's the allegation that Diddy got jealous when Cassie began flirting with rapper Kid Cudi in 2011. Cassie says that in 2012, Diddy told her that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car, and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with his friends when it happened. Around that time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. The allegations brought forth in Cassie's lawsuit were shocking, and so too were the accusations brought months later in yet another civil suit filed by Rodney Jones, also known as the producer Lil Rod. He began working with Diddy in 2022 on the Love album, and soon, he alleges, the abuse began. Lil Rod accuses Diddy of sexual assault, writing he was, quote, "the victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs." He also alleges Diddy and his team were grooming Lil Rod to engage in gay sex. Lil Rod further alleges that Diddy forced him to have sex with prostitutes and even drugged Lil Rod to get him to comply. On top of these sexual assault allegations, Lil Rod's lawsuit also alleges that Diddy ran a gun and drug trafficking scheme. He says there are hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in some serious illegal activity because Diddy apparently forced Lil Rod to constantly record him. The allegations continue, saying that Diddy covered up multiple shootings. To start, there's the New York nightclub shooting in 1999. Lil Rod alleges Diddy required his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez to transport his illegal firearm into the NYC nightclub. The court docs also allege Diddy forced his then-artist Shine to assume responsibility for the shooting of several individuals. Lil Rod's civil suit points to another alleged cover-up too, this time for a shooting outside Diddy's Chalice Studios on September 12, 2022. According to court docs, Diddy, his son Justin, and Justin's friend referred to as G were all there when things got heated. Lil Rod heard multiple gunshots ring out, and then he found G on the bathroom floor in the fetal position. Lil Rod says he was bleeding out of his hip and leg area. After that, Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. So that specific allegation involves Diddy's son Justin, but another allegation and entirely separate civil suit involves his other son, Christian, or King Combs. Grace Omar K. alleges that Christian Combs sexually assaulted her on a yacht in December 2022, and all this was facilitated by Diddy. That suit was filed in April, and in May, former model Crystal McKinney filed suit against Diddy too, alleging he drugged and sexually assaulted her in his New York studio back in 2003. Diddy's former bad boy artists have spoken out too, including members of Danity Kane, the girl group that Diddy helped form on MTV's Making the Band 3. Singer Aubrey O'Day alleges Diddy underpaid members of the band and later offered her the publishing rights to her songs if she signed an NDA. And there was a catch to that.
And in order to get that, I have to release him for any claims or wrongdoings or actions prior to the date of the release. I have to sign an NDA that I will never disparage Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, or Justin Combs' music, or EMI, or Sony ever in public.
Just this month, Aubrey O'Day's Danity Kane bandmate Dawn Richard filed suit against Diddy. She alleged Diddy verbally and sexually abused her, all with the intentional infliction of emotional distress. There are so many layers to this story, dozens of allegations, civil suits, and criminal charges. And all this while Diddy sits behind bars in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. But let's begin with those federal charges. Here's former federal prosecutor Gene Rossi. So, going off and talking about those three charges, initially to me, when I looked over the indictment, I was like, only three? It's only 14 pages? That's kind of small, short. But according to you, it sounds like RICO could be a giant charge.
I was surprised when I read this indictment that it is so short. What that tells me is the prosecutors just wanted to get this indictment out there to move this case along. And, given the scope of this case, 14 pages is nothing. I predict that they're going to supersede, amend the indictment, and maybe not add more charges, but add more allegations under each charge, as they say, to add more meat to the bones and have what they call a speaking indictment. A speaking indictment is one that's very, very detailed. It's almost like reading a novel. And a speaking indictment can be over 100 pages. This one is sort of a bare bones general indictment that I predict the federal prosecutors are going to amend, supersede, and add more information.
So you said they'll likely add more allegations, more information to kind of beef up their argument, but we still only have these three charges. And I'm sure the federal prosecutors are bringing the ones that they can get a conviction on, right? The ones that have the most amount of evidence against Diddy. Do you think that's why they only brought three, just to secure a conviction?
I think they only need three, and here's why. The RICO charge is so expansive that if they only use that one count, RICO, that would be enough for me. So they don't need 20, 30 counts. If they have 3 or 4 core good counts, that's enough, because that RICO charge by itself is an extremely serious charge.
As far as a potential conviction, obviously down the line, and as you said, Diddy is presumed innocent, but if there is a conviction, what sort of sentence could he face? Multiple years behind bars?
Under the sentencing guidelines, which are not binding on a court, he's looking at significant time. Probably my back of the envelope arithmetic calculation is at least 10 years. At least.
Criminal defense attorney Adam Conta agrees. The federal indictment is problematic for Diddy.
It lays out what they believe is a pattern of illegal activity, all in the names and the furtherance of the Combs enterprise. I think it lacks some details, but we have, because this is an ongoing investigation, and because it's sort of been in the public sphere for a while, we have more details than we normally would. They've laid out a pattern of conspiracy and racketeering that they've charged him with. But part of that is obviously that one of the victims is his ex-girlfriend Kathy, who filed this major lawsuit last year in November against him. But we kind of have the details from that lawsuit as well, so we can kind of insert those as really the jump-off point to how we got here now today. But he's got some real legal challenges ahead of him, absolutely.
You brought up a good point about the pattern, showing that Diddy had a pattern to break the law in this many ways. And it all goes back kind of to Cassie and the civil suit that she filed. Obviously, they had a relationship for several years. She alleges some pretty serious accusations against him. So how important is Cassie going to be in regards to this federal case?
Well, she's going to be incredibly important in terms of her lawsuit is really what opened up the public's attention to it. And so that's really what got everyone going. That's what got the authorities looking into her more. I mean, it was only a year ago that he got the key to the city here in New York. And now here he is indicted in the Southern District, right? So what happened in a year for someone to have fallen so far? And not just got the keys to the city a year ago. He was, He was given like the Lifetime Achievement Award in the VMAs. That was just last year too. I mean, this is someone who is at the top of the public sphere in terms of reverence, in terms of respect, in terms of what they mean to the city and to the community. And for it to turn around this fast, I think we have to look directly at Cassie and her lawsuit filed on November 16th. And even though they settled it a day later, again, the details of what was alleged got out there. And then what that really did, just like the Me Too movement, it started other people who were alleged victims of his thinking, well, maybe now is my time to come forward. If in fact that they felt threatened by Diddy, if in fact they were coerced not to say anything through violent threats, through physical threats, through emotional threats, and potentially of having whatever acts they committed with Diddy being recorded and even having those used against them as electronic threats. After Cassie's lawsuit, they started to come out, and then you saw another lawsuit in December, and then another one, and another one, and so there were a couple that came out that really started steamrolling this sort of this change in a public opinion of him, just like happened with R. Kelly, although these are separate charges and they have not been proven like R. Kelly's. But just like in R. Kelly, it took the public a little while to kind of get around this notion of this pop superstar who we've grown to love for decades, and now kind of peel back the onions to his personal persona that could be quite disturbing. And so, even though she is not going to be, she might not be doing interviews, and she might not be out there sort of as the public figurehead of this indictment, she's certainly at the genesis of it and is the reason this whole thing got rolling.
And what continued the ball rolling was Lil Rod's suit. For this, I'll turn to former prosecutor Melba Pearson. Obviously, every lawsuit is very important in this case, but Lil Rod's actually mentions hundreds of hours of video footage. He's talking about these illegal activities, making these pretty severe allegations, but says, hey, there's audio, video, photos. Do you think that was a big reason why the feds executed those search warrants back in March?
Absolutely, because they had to seize all of that evidence to be able to use it at trial later on down the line. So they now had specific things they were looking for, because remember, a search warrant can't just be a fishing expedition. You have to be able to detail in the warrant what you're expecting to find or what you are seeking. And so with Little Rod's lawsuit, the feds were able to be like, okay, we're looking for video. We're looking for surveillance video that may have been located in this particular room. We're looking for a particular time frame when these incidences occurred. So what evidence can we find that substantiates what occurred during that time frame while we're looking through the house? So it all came together to be able to give the feds the information they needed to be able to do these searches effectively, follow the trail of evidence, and then lead to the indictment.
All roads kind of lead back to these civil suits, because obviously now we have the criminal side of things, which you've talked about, and that's going to be something we'll follow closely. But the civil side is kind of what paved the way. And I'm wondering now that Diddy is in custody, what's going to happen to these civil suits? Are they stalled? What would that look like?
What generally happens is that the civil attorneys will sort of wait and see what happens in the criminal case, because so much of the evidence that comes out in the criminal case can be a treasure trove for the civil lawsuit. So, for instance, if Diddy were to get on the stand and testify, which I highly doubt he would, if he were to get on the stand and testify, his testimony can be admissible in the civil lawsuit, especially if he gives conflicting statements. He can be what we called impeached, or basically, to use the colloquialism, basically called out like, hey, you said this on this date, that at the criminal trial, now at the civil trial you're saying something different, which is the truth, that sort of thing. So, I think that the civil lawsuits may be on pause, not to say that they're going to be dropped or anything along those lines, but the criminal case is what's going to take precedence right now. And then once that's disposed of meaning guilty plea or a trial, guilty, not guilty, whatever the case may be, mistrial, then the civil lawsuits will pick back up again.
After his arrest, Diddy pleaded not guilty to federal charges. A statement from his legal team reads, quote, Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community. He is an imperfect person, but is not criminal. To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court. That was a look at all 47 shocking allegations against disgraced rapper P. Diddy. To be sure you never miss an update in his case, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. For Law and Crime, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
Okay. That was...
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now. It's an old adage that can't be denied. The internet never forgets. If something is posted online, it's going to live on there somewhere forever. That is proving to be true for Sean Diddy Combs as he faces criminal charges in a federal court in New York. We are taking a fresh look at some videos of the rapper that take on a new tone given the serious accusations he's now facing. We're going to break down some of the clips and the potential impact, if any, at trial with a digital forensics expert. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Sean Diddy Combs has been a pop culture icon since the 1990s, for a while now. He was an early adopter of video blogging, bragging at one point to David Letterman that he had the most friends in history on MySpace. We all remember what MySpace was. He said he started a vlog called Diddy TV where he posted about his life, and that hasn't stopped.
87% of Colorado teens would try to stop friends from taking a drug that could be...
Okay, so I really just wanted to give a layout of what the charges were Diddy's looking at. As y'all heard, just like I did, Diddy's looking at the biggest charge being RICO. So we're gonna look now at what RICO charges look like, okay, and all of that, so y'all can furthermore understand what it is that Diddy is facing. RICO charges. Okay, let me get my camera position back how it needs to be. Front facing. Okay, we're gonna go RICO charges now. How's everybody doing this Thursday afternoon? I'm in Lakewood, Colorado, keeping myself updated on the current news of the things. I have caught myself up currently with the election. Who I'm voting for is Kamala, and her last campaign trail blazing down in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania was where that was. And so it was an inspirational, down to the facts of the earth talk, and I greatly got my life from it. So hope you guys do too. Know who you're voting for, know who to give your best vote to. Now we're up on Diddy stuff. So as we heard in the last video we just watched of the 47 charges that are against Sean Puffy Combs, the worst one right now is the RICO charge. So we're gonna look at what a RICO charge carries and consists of. Okay. So, to violate RICO, a person must engage in a pattern of racketeering activities connected to an enterprise. The law defines 35 offenses as constituting racketeering, including gambling, murder, kidnapping, arson, drug dealing, and bribery. We know that Diddy is suspected of murder. Tupac, Kim Porter, Biggie, things like that. We know he has set a cocktail bomb to Kid Cudi's car. That's arson. We do know that his alleged drug mule was picked up with Diddy. I believe Diddy was there when his drug mule went down. So that is that. We also do know that Diddy is looking at bribery as well, for bribing witnesses, politicians, police authorities, things like that. So what 7 states carry RICO laws? Pennsylvania, Hawaii, Arizona, Florida, Rhode Island, Georgia, and Indiana have enacted RICO statutes, while such laws are pending in New Jersey, California, and Massachusetts. Okay, they obviously have it in New York because they have a RICO charge on Diddy in New York. So what is the maximum sentence for a RICO charge? Penalties under the RICO Act. Not only does the RICO statute provide for criminal penalties, including 20 years of prison, but the financial penalties are severe. A person convicted can face a fine of either $250,000 or double the amount of proceeds earned from your illicit activity. So say Diddy made $50 million in illicit activity, he will owe $100 million back. You have to double the amount of the proceeds earned from any illicit activity. Okay? It covers up to 20 years of prison time. And Diddy's not looking at a RICO charge under the state. He's looking at a RICO charge under federal indictment. So that would be 20 years, right? If given 20 years, he would have to do day for day in Club Fed. So the elements of a RICO crime: one must demonstrate a pattern of racketeering activity. So they didn't just come and get Diddy from surveilling him for 2 or 3 months ago. They have had to understand that Diddy had a pattern of racketeering activities, and it had to involve at least 2 or more predicate acts within a specified time frame. So that's not like the feds get alerted to you doing something and then not the feds. You know, the police will do that. Like, you can give a tip into the police and they will rush right in real time and, you know, try to, counteract the crime. The feds do not work like that. The feds take time, precision, ways to go about diligently, but precisionally, you know what I'm saying? Ways of going about pouncing on you within a specific time frame. So Diddy obviously has have made known to demonstrate a pattern of racketeering activity involving at least 2 or more predicate acts within a specified time frame. So that means Sean Puffy Diddy Combs, right, had to have been doing 2 illegal racketeering activities within a specified time frame. And the feds know, Homeland Security, all of those people do know that when the feds monitor you or surveillance you, they do not want to get you on something that may give you a slap on the wrist or can sue the feds or Homeland Security. They come in for the kill, okay? When the feds come in, they want to make sure that they are taking you out of the way of having to be back in their way for however long so they can move along to the next motherfucker that's committing a pattern of racketeering activity involving at least 2 or more predicate acts within a specified time frame. So when the feds come for you, they are looking to intentionally, by whatever 2 acts within the time frame that they surveillance you that involves racketeering activity, to lock you up for a good while so that you are out of the motherfucking way. Period. Okay? That's what the feds do when they place you on a RICO crime. Okay? So, variety of criminal offenses in the RICO crime. bribery, extortion, fraud, and other specified crimes. Has anyone ever beaten a RICO case? You may wonder if there's hope of beating these allegations. It is possible to beat RICO charges, but it requires a skilled federal criminal defense attorney with experience handling these cases. I mean, you got Diddy's lawyers up there talking about baby oil, girl. And yeah, you can get baby oil at any Costco. Yeah, I'm sure they have Costco's in every neighborhood Diddy lived in. Like, Diddy is facing a life indictment, possibly the death motherfucking penalty, depending on how much they can convict and charge and convict Diddy with. His life is at stake, and his lawyers are down to the presses talking about Costco's being in Diddy's fucking neighborhood. It is possible to beat a RICO charge. Diddy needs a skilled federal criminal defense attorney with experience handling federal RICO cases. Okay? That is the only way Diddy ass is going to get any type of lesser of a conviction or off of these RICO charges if a federal criminal defense attorney with experience handles Diddy's case. Right now, I don't know what y'all been looking at, but I have not been seeing Diddy's lawyers handle his case as a skilled federal defense attorney with experience handling his case. If y'all have, y'all send me the coverage at tanishatalk@gmail.com. Okay? It's tanishatalk@gmail.com. Now, we've covered how much you go to jail, up to 20 years in prison per racketeering count. So, say that he gets hit on 4 racketeering counts. That's 20, 40, 60, 80 years. Diddy is 54 years old. So, Diddy, okay, what's 80 plus 54? What's 80 plus 54? Okay, what's that? Diddy will be 134 years old, up there with the ancestors, by the time he is still will be freed from federal jail, prison. Diddy will be in hell at 134 years old and still in prison, because he does not get out of jail if he's given, say, even 2 racketeering charges. You can get 20 years in prison per racketeering count, right? Say Diddy gets 2 racketeering charges that stick. Say he gets the drugs and guns, okay? And they give Diddy 20 years per racketeering count. Diddy's 54 years old. With 20 years, Diddy will be with 40 years, Diddy will be 94 years old if he survives prison. He will be 94 years old when he gets out of federal prison on even a 40-year
sentence. I wonder if you could get the death penalty for a RICO case. If somebody of the RICO predicate acts is a murder, then if the jury finds the defendant guilty of said murder, they can get life in prison or even the death penalty under a RICO case. If Diddy is found to have been the one to conspire for Tupac, Biggie Smalls, Kim Porter's boyfriend, the producer of a movie that Kim said in her Kim's Last Word book, wanted to put in a movie. He became found to be dead by pneumonia. She died from pneumonia. Then her boyfriend died from pneumonia. Then she died from pneumonia. If Diddy is found to be the conspirator of those said murders, 1, 2, 3, it was Tupac, the Biggie Smalls, the producer of her show or her movie, Kim Porter, and her boyfriend, then her. That's 5 murders right there that are out in the atmosphere of Diddy potentially being behind, right? Or the mastermind of, conspirator of those 5 murders. Then Diddy can potentially face the death penalty. And his lawyers are down to the press talking about baby oil, and everybody has a Costco in their neighborhood. Diddy has a lot of family. Maybe he wanted it for his children. 1,000 bottles. So what? Like, motherfucker, Diddy could potentially be facing the death penalty. If Diddy is found to be guilty of said one of the five murders that we know sitting here in our real life and time, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, the producer of a movie that wanted Kim to be in, found to be dead by pneumonia. Kim's boyfriend found to be dead from pneumonia. Kim found to be dead from pneumonia, but all centering back to Diddy. If Diddy is found to be made guilty for those murders, any one said murder, plus on top of the other shit that he got going on, the drugs and guns and the sex trafficking and things like that, Diddy could be facing the death penalty. Diddy very well could be facing the death penalty. The death penalty very much does play into the RICO Act. Very, very much so. If the jury finds the defendant guilty of a murder, they can get life in prison, or death penalty. Okay? That is very much a strong possibility. So, Diddy needs a fucking competent lawyer that is skilled in federal criminal defense with handling RICO cases, particularly the ones that Diddy's facing. Drugs, guns, prostitution, sex trafficking, and murders. Diddy gonna need somebody better than Joe Smo Blow that he got down to the motherfucking presses talking all that boobily bullshit. He gonna need somebody better than that, y'all. Now, y'all can say what you want to say. I'm reading what is coming up in my searches for said RICO cases, which we know Diddy has. One said case is a RICO. The one that they are saying is the worst possible case that Diddy has on him right now, which is a RICO charge. Okay? That's what that is. That is what that is doing right now, down to Diddy's criminal cases. Hi, Mario. Thank you for tuning in to Tanisha C's Talks this afternoon. Please feel free to drop me some stars if you feel so gracious. Drop me a few stars on these videos. I'm bringing y'all up to date, top flight, some motherfucking valence on the eyes. Got my eyes on Diddy's ass, girl. I'm on Diddy's ass, girl. I am watching this case almost with the fine tooth comb like the fucking feds are. Okay? I most certainly am. And I'm bringing y'all up to date understanding of what Diddy is doing, okay? Because I believe that he did it. I believe that he did every such said thing that is being alleged by, the victims and people speaking out. I do believe Gene Deal. I mean, who else would know such an account of Diddy's life than his fucking security guard? Who's closer to a celebrity than their security guard? Why do you think people are celebrities are always trying to keep their security guards under wrap? Keep them happy, because they know their tea. They know their tea. And they know if a security guard gets pissed off at them, they can run to press and tell their tea. Oh, security guards are with celebrities 24 hours of the fucking day. Some people have security guards that live on their property with them. Some of them have their own set quarters where security guards will live on the property with them. 24-hour round-the-clock security teams. Because it is very real for celebrities to be attacked. People wanting to rob celebrities, hurt celebrities, kidnap celebrities, things like that. Okay? So security guards are with their celebrities 24 hours, 7 of the day. Okay? Who better to know more about Diddy than Gene Deal, who was his bodyguard for like 20 years? Let's get into a little bit of what Gene Deal talks about. Let's see if we can find his latest interview.
For my people that are trying to start a print-on-demand store or trying to get a print-on-demand store off the ground, let me put you on to Kittle. Kittle is your one-stop shop for all things print-on.
You heard about Diddy bail being denied for a second time?
Bruh, if you look at and you read the indictment and you read what the judge said, the first
No,
judge
this is
said
Gene
that
Deal speaking on it.
you knew in March when they did the raid in your house, correct me if I'm wrong again, when they did a raid on his house, he knew that he had to go into court sometimes, right? He knew he had to go to court sometimes. It was going to be a time you got to go in court. What was he doing during that period of time? Still going to a few little places, party and stuff like that. I ain't telling the man, how to run his life and everything like that. But steady using drugs. Even when the feds caught them, they caught drugs on his person and drugs in his room. Right? So now, he goes in front of the first judge. The judge is like, yo, your lawyers can't handle you. You had plenty of time to clean yourself up and start doing the right thing. So, I can't give you bail. You sitting up here, you done made 100 and something calls to this one girl that could be a potential witness. They say that you done blew up somebody's car. What I look like giving you a bail? So now what people don't understand, why would their lawyer go to another judge? Which is crazy to me. They think another judge is going to give a bail because they said, I'm going to give you 50 million, 100 million, all that. No, they not going to fight against each other when none of your circumstances had changed the first time. Your first bail, you show that you ain't do nothing, and you still had the ability to be threatening to witnesses. You still drugged out of your mind, and I think they said they may have found pink cocaine. I told you cocaine is a hell of a drug, bro. It done brought a lot of people down. A lot of people down. And I don't give a F, but I feel sorry for somebody I know that didn't use drugs. And now he losing his whole empire. And it's got to do with who he is as a person. But them drugs sure changed him and effed him up. Because he thought that those people was going to give him bail because he was rich. Nah, a lot of rich people still go to jail. Not like we do, but they still go to jail. Especially when they got him like that and the attention, the bad press and the bad attention that he's been getting.
Yeah, they said that they found pink cocaine in this hotel room.
Yes, sir. So that showed the judge right then when he had the pink cocaine and he had pills and everything like that he's still doing the same shit that he don't care. And not another judge ain't gonna come behind that and say, yo, because he gotta show where something has changed in his life. Nothing had changed since they did the raid.
Yeah, you may be right about that. I mean, if he's still doing drugs, then yeah, he ain't changed. But I know Trapper from the band, he did an interview, and he claiming that he spoke to Hard Pierre, and he told him that, Diddy is doing okay. And I know Chopper, he made a comment saying that he believed that, Diddy, he not going to do life in prison because money talks. You believe that?
I know. They talk for Weinstein. They talk for Epstein. They talk for Bill Cosby. They talk for R. Kelly. Does a lot of talking behind bars. It does a lot of talking behind bars. When they want you, brother, they don't care how much money you got. They don't care what creed, what color. When they want you, or somebody has put a battery in their back to get you, and that's what it looks like. You understand? Somebody put a battery in their back to get Diddy and bring him down. It ain't gonna matter how much money. Hard better be worrying about that if he wasn't oiled up. Because some girls have said some bad things about him. If that's the case, he better get his lawyer up and get his shit straight.
How do you feel about Hard Pierre, personally?
I don't have no feelings behind it. You know what I'm saying? He was always a yes man. These are cats who was yes men to Diddy, man. You can't have no feeling for no man who, every time Diddy put on a beat and Diddy start bopping his head, they like this. Looking dead at him. I used to bust out fucking laugh and walk out the studio. These guys are yes men.
Okay, so that was Gene Deal's account of the latest up-to-date feelings on Diddy and what he's currently doing right now. So I'm going to conclude this video for right now, y'all. I might come back later. I might not, depending on how I'm feeling after I get off the school bus. It has been a wonderful tea talk Talk. I hope y'all have got inspired, innovated to facts. Just find the facts, okay? And what's relatively in our face, you know, believe what you see, not everything you read and hear. You know, what are we seeing? Okay. What do we know? Let's use our common sense. As we vote for our new president in November, what are we seeing? What are we, you know, knowing to be so about each elector? Donald Trump and Kamala. I'm voting Kamala. I hope you all do too. This has been Tanisha Talks These Teas. Bye, my blessed best.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay sipping.